Before Steel Vengeance, which is a hybrid roller coaster at Cedar Point, became Steel Vengeance, many were clamoring for Wildcat at Hersheypark to receive the RMC treatment. For those who don't know, when I say RMC treatment, Rocky Mountain Construction is a roller coaster manufacturer that became popular by taking old, rundown wooden roller coasters and transforming them into modern, hybrid steel roller coasters that can pull off some of the most exciting elements found on any roller coaster. Well, it took a few more years, but Hersheypark collaborated with Rocky Mountain Construction and came up with their newest roller coaster, Wildcat's Revenge. Before I even start talking about this roller coaster review, I have to give props to RMC for building this attraction in record time. Many, including myself after seeing construction progress in early May, were convinced that this attraction will not open till like late summer or July. Well, the construction crew pulled off a miracle, completed construction, and had this ride open by the first weekend of June. Wildcat's Revenge features a height of 140 feet, 3,510 feet of track, 62 miles per hour max speed with a total of 4 inversions. If you could do me a favor, please click on the like button, and if you are a fan of roller coasters or Hersheypark, make sure you subscribe for future content. Presentation. Wildcat's Revenge is located in the very back of the park. The ride features a red track with black cross ties and supports. The wood is left to its natural color, but I'm really digging this black off color. Most RMCs will have a gray metal color for their cross ties, but Hersheypark really wanted to make this ride stand out. The station is basically an overhaul of the original Wildcat station, featuring some nice signage around on the walls. Being at Hersheypark, theming isn't really a thing per se, but I would argue that Wildcat's Revenge looks great with decent presentation. The 3 trains in operation all have a Wildcat bursting out of the front of the train. I'm honestly not a huge fan of the Zero car, but it does work for this ride. Considering that I expect no theming at Hersheypark, I'm giving this coaster a score of 8 for presentation because I really love the black colored mixed with a red track and natural wood supports. Ride intensity. Wildcat's Revenge starts off with a fun little pre-lift section, taking a dive turn to the left, a couple bunny hills, followed by a quick 180-degree turn to the right that leads right into the lift. Once the train that is sitting on the brake run has cleared the block zone, Wildcat's Revenge picks up some speed and starts accelerating up to the top of the hill. The ride takes a near vertical drop that leads right into the first inversion, a step-up underflip. The park is stating that this is the largest underflip inversion in the world. For those who are curious, this element is kind of like a reverse death roll found on Iron Gwazi, it's just not as intense. The coaster dives back down into a turnaround that leads us into one of the only traditional airtime hills. This is the best moment of sustained airtime on the ride. Then the coaster does a double up of sorts that leads into a wave turn to the left. It's a quick pop of airtime that takes me by surprise. The next element is a 0G stall. It's not as big as the other stall elements, but the coaster really crawls through this maneuver that provides some excellent hang time. Wildcat's Revenge takes another wave turn, this time to the right, leading up into a double down, but what makes this one unique is its turn to the left midway through the hill, without any banking, so it will give some good laterals. The coaster enters into its first 0G roll, followed by an overbanked turnaround to the left, leading right into another 0G roll that flies over the lift. If the ride ops are sending those trains, which for the most part they actually were doing a pretty good job, there is a possibility while you are flipping upside down, the other train will be entering the lift, and you'll get this neat little dueling moment. After the roll, the coaster turns to the right into a quick airtime hill that leads into another turn to the right that turns sharply to the left right into the brake run. The final turn lacks any banking, so it will throw some strong laterals. If you aren't ready for this part, it can be quite uncomfortable, so take note. In terms of overall intensity, I would say that Wildcat's Revenge is on par with Twisted Timbers or Storm Chaser. It's not as intense that was sold to me. I was thinking a slightly muted Iron Gwazi, but that's not the case. There are a couple pretty intense moments, but for the most part, the ride is more pure fun than crazy intense. The final section of the ride, starting with the 0G roll, is where Wildcat's Revenge feels super fast and more forceful. I think a score of 9 is perfect for this category. It's an intense roller coaster, but I would say that Sky Rush is a more forceful attraction at Hersheypark, so I have to reduce this by 1 point. fun factor. As I just briefly mentioned, Wildcats Revenge may not be as intense, but this is a pure fun attraction. I have a couple problems with the layout, but even still, that's not enough to deter a 10 score for this category. That one final moment at the end of the ride is a little uncomfortable, but everything else about this ride is so much fun. Wildcats Revenge features a loading and unloading station, which, correct me if I'm wrong, this is the first for Rocky Mountain construction. When the staff was really sending those trains, I was getting an average dispatch time of like 90 seconds. At that rate, Wildcats Revenge will send 40 trains an hour. Each train holds 24 passengers, meaning that this ride has a potential of sending 960 riders an hour. This ride has some of the best operations I've seen on an RMC, competing with the stellar ride staff over at Steel Vengeance. Also, just like Steel Vengeance, Wildcats Revenge has free lockers located inside the queue, meaning that you can put your stuff in a locker prior to riding and then retrieve it once you walk down the unloading ramp. These lockers are also quite spacious, not like those little cubby holes that you have on the Steel Vengeance. Both Kara and I were able to put our camera equipment into one locker, which is great. Meaning we could capture video and pictures while waiting in line, then put our stuff in the locker prior to boarding the train. Wildcats Revenge has great airtime moments, fun inversions, a couple of surprise moments like that double down and wave turn. This is a solid fun ride that I could find myself marathoning it all day long. Originality. I was struggling last week with my Air Force One review to come up with a good score. Similar to what I said last time, a lot of RMCs suffer with the same problem of feeling like, well, other RMCs. Granted, this is a problem that many manufacturers face. Once you've been on over 300 roller coasters, it gets tougher to create a true original experience. Thankfully, when we look over the layout, the elements, pacing, operations, I feel confident giving Wildcats Revenge a score of 9 for originality. If the ride warrants multiple rides and doesn't get old after like the third time, I feel it does enough to feel fresh. Ride smoothness. Continuing on with the trend, another Rocky Mountain construction roller coaster will receive a perfect 10 score for ride smoothness. This is a butter smooth ride. The only jarring moments are by design. Alright, the final technical score comes to 9.2, which is a pretty awesome score. This isn't the greatest roller coaster of all time, but with great operations, a fun layout, and excellent pacing, this ride really puts Hersheypark farther up on that list of parks with the best roller coaster collection. For my personal score, I'm going to give it a 9.5. The only thing that really holds me back from giving it that perfect 10 has to be a couple of those jarring moments. It's still a great ride to marathon, but you're kind of bracing for that last sharp moment, and it's just not really my favorite part of the ride. But other than that, this is a solid addition to Hersheypark. Also, with me complaining about that final turn is kind of petty, but I mean, this is my review and I'm allowed to be petty. Now, as to where this ranks against the other RMCs that I've been on, I would say that this is in the top 5 for sure. I think it really offers a nice variety, excellent pacing that makes this something that I could just hop right back in line. I don't have any really qualms about stopping and maybe taking a break. I could just keep riding this coaster all day long. As for the roller coaster ranking at Hersheypark, this is probably up there in the top 3. Definitely an argument for making it the best roller coaster at Hersheypark. Again, this is a solid addition. I would really like to see how their roller coaster lineup now compares against other parks like Six Flags Great Adventure, Cedar Point, Kings Island, Carowinds, because I think Hersheypark has a fantastic lineup that only seems to be getting better and better. Well, thank you for watching today's review. What do you think of Wildcats Revenge? Let me know down in the comments. Until next time, this is Extreme Thrills.